welcome this afternoon. How are you today? You all right?
I am fine. Thank you very much. Yeah, beautiful day. So, well, yeah, thank you so much for having me.
No problem. It's lovely to meet you, Toyin. Would you just like to introduce yourself to everybody, please?
Okay, yeah, sure. So I am Toyin Ayandare, mom of two and wife to my lovely husband and business partner. I obviously am we're talking property here, but I am a property developer and I invest in and around Essex, which is our sort of good mind area. And we do look pretty much all strategies in property, but I'm very much focused on development. Um, I've been doing this full time for about 9 years now, and yeah, beautiful, love it. Comes with its challenges, but then I'm still doing it purely because it's reward is definitely very rewarding. So yeah.
That's cool. It sounds like you're doing lots of different things in property, which is very interesting. What
Yeah.
made you get started?
Hmm. I mean, looking back now, I believe it's always been in me. Some of those things that's been in your DNA, but I don't think I quite realized at the time. Only until after I had my second daughter, I think we decided actually we wanted a different spin to our lives. We wanted more flexibility because prior to that, I used to have do a 9 to 5 in the city, and it was becoming much more difficult. Obviously, being a mom, being able to transport back and forth, and my older daughter used to have some medical issues, which meant we needed to travel, pick her up in a rush. And we just thought there was more to life than that. And I think both myself and my husband decided that actually we needed to sort of try and pivot our ways sort of out of the 9 to 5 and have some more flexibility. We didn't know exactly what shape and form it would take, but we just thought we would give ourselves an opportunity to be able to have a better life or have more flexibility, which we did. So I took a plunge and stepped out of the 9 to 5, went into property. And I remember the first 6 months, 6 to 12 months, I was always twiddling my fingers, trying to see, is it going to work? Is it not going to work? Have I made a mistake? And thankfully, 9 years on, I'm still there. So yeah, I think that for us, that was this. We just thought we'll try it out. Just it was purely for the flexibility, and yes, that really I think we just wanted to take control of our own financial destinies. We wanted to sort of be in charge of knowing when and where and how, and being also available. I think one of the key things to us was to bring up successful kids. And we knew that was going to be quite difficult having both holding 9 to 5 jobs and not being able to be there for them, relying on others to care for them for us. So yeah, we did it, and yeah, we are.
Fantastic. And so did you quit your job and then go into property, or did you start property and then gradually quit your job?
I'm one of the very brave ones that just went.
Ah, how did you do that?
Ah, I mean, looking back and I hearing other people's stories, speaking to like my mentees and the rest of that, I really think, wow. I think you do certain things and not realize the gravity of what you've done and how big a deal it was. I just did it. I think to an extent, I think I'm quite brave, but even at that, I didn't think it was such a big thing. Looking back, I'm like, wow, that was so brave because obviously we had two little kids, and it could if it went bad, it was literally I'd thrown it all away, right? But I just thought we did it. I mean, I always thought, you know what, let's give it 1 year, let's give it 6 months. If it doesn't work, then I can go back to my job. But thankfully, it did work.
That's fantastic. And did you have some money to start off property with, or did you have to find finance from other people?
I was quite lucky. Like I said, I did have 9 to 5, so we had savings which we sort of used to start off, and then sort of started off. I mean, now I was an avid, saying that even whilst I was working, I was an avid. I used to watch Almost Under the Emma a lot. So
Yeah.
obviously, I really gotten some ideas, but I had absolutely no other property knowledge. Neither did I have any one around me that had done it. So it was really a brave move because I had absolutely no one around me that had been into property development. So it was not something I had an idea of what shape it would come in. But then I had them almost at the ammo, and I used to watch. So I sort of bought the first one and still had no idea, still tried to sell it off, did the second one. And after that, I ran out of money. Then I realized there must be a different way, because most of the people that watch it, you see them, they sort of have, they say this is the third time, this is the second one they bought this year. So I thought, what way? Then I started sort of researching and built the portfolio from there.
Cool. And so did you do any actual training, or was it more just research?
So I didn't even know there was any training. I didn't know anyone that was doing property. I think we had actually done like a proper development. I think we had actually done our first commercial to residential development at the time before we really realized there was a whole lot of people out there doing it. We didn't know there was any. Thinking about it, I don't think there were like YouTube videos out there. There was really nothing. I'm not sure there was much out there, or rather, I didn't know where to find
Mm.
any information out there. So it was purely research. Also just of using we had refurbed our house prior to that as well, so knowledge from bits and pieces from everywhere. And yeah, I think I'm also a smart child, so I picked up a few things as I went along, made use of our power team, and then obviously things evolved. You sort of learn before I actually even knew there was any property. So I didn't have any property education. However, did have property education somewhat after I started my journey, because obviously when we started different strategies, there were certain things that we didn't quite understand, and at that stage we sort of got some property education.
Okay, that's good. And was it worth its money, the property education?
Oh yeah, definitely. I've done property in terms of those property courses, which introduced me to like a service accommodation business, which I absolutely wouldn't have started. But I think for me, one of the major things I think made a shift in our business was I did mastermind. So I had a mentor, property mentor, and mastermind, and I think that was like the major thing for me, because it was almost like that limitation that you place on, because like I mentioned, I'd done quite a few developments, but still doing it on such a small scale. And when I did the mastermind and the mentoring, it almost like I took off that seal, and I literally thought, okay, you know what, I can do a lot in property, and that really shifted our business.
That's amazing. And so
Yeah.
to get into developments like that is like big. And when you're doing commercial to residential, I know lots of people that want to do it, but you are actually doing it. So well done. Can you tell me about a project? Are you working on something right now?
I've actually got 4 sites on the go at the moment. I've got a new build, a new build. So we're just knocking down. It's a factory, an industrial site, which we're knocking down to build 12 apartments.
Mhm.
We've also got we've obviously done converted Lloyd's Bank into apartments, mixed use apartments. We've converted Barclays Bank. I think the most recent one, which we've completed phase 1, which I thought I can tell you about that one. That's it's actually a shop with uppers, which we converted using permitted development rights, and we've converted it to 4 apartments. And then but the good thing about this site is we actually had there's a land to the side, so we did a title split, and on the other side we're building two extra apartments on the land on the side. So obviously total of 6 apartments. But I think the beauty of this apartment is he had planning permission to build 4 1-bedroom apartments prior to our purchase, but we literally ignored that. And what we've got then, we've got 5 2-bedroom apartments and 1 3-bedroom apartment. So it's like a major shift, different from what it was supposed to be. And yeah, it is very profitable.
That's very interesting what you're saying. They already had planning, but you didn't want to use that planning, because I know that some sources they try to find a plot and they might apply for planning to sell it with planning. But I've also heard developers say, well, that's a waste of time because you don't know what that developer would want to do with the site. So what's
and then particularly this particular planning permission we had was absolutely not financially viable if we had gone down with what the planning permission had. To be honest, if it was purely based on that, I'll probably not have bought the sites.
And so you go get your own planning permission. And who do you work with? You must have an architect on your power team, and you have like a feasibility planner or something. How does it work?
I'd say in that business we're fantastic, but not like we've not got any. We've not got all the knowledge. Yes, we do have a power team. We've got an architect, planning consultants, structural engineer, the whole lot sort of that help us. I do most of the analysis myself.
Brilliant.
Believe it or not. Yeah. I mean, I think I quite like putting the deal together, the structuring, the numbers, the trying. I mean, I'm not always going to be exact, but I'm usually nearly there. I enjoyed that part, and I think that's one bit no one can really nail for you. It depends on, and it's very, very different from each developer. And I've absolutely loved that the number side of things and structuring it. So till date I've done it myself. Would I take on someone to do it in the future? Possibly. Depends on how project. Obviously, as we stretch and we get out of our comfort zone and do something even bigger, I might require some extra help with knowledge of things that I do not know. But yeah, so far till date, I've been quite there.
This is so exciting. I'm so excited that I started talking to you last week. Tell me about, in order to finance them, do you take out bridging loans? Is that how you would finance them? Yeah.
Yeah, most of our deals we used bridging loans for. We've used development finance, obviously the single simple ones. When we started off, we used buy-to-let mortgages, and even when we use bridging loan, we do transfer over to long-term finance, so your regular buy-to-let mortgages or commercial finance, depending on what site it is. But yes, majorly that's one of the ways that we've been able to expand our portfolio. It's been good. I know a lot of people say it's quite expensive, but yes, I do agree it's expensive. But I believe it's a numbers game. If it does work, then it works. So that's what we've sort of done till date. So that's been fabulous in helping us expand the portfolio and not having to wait. Because I'm an avid believer of build now rather than wait to save. I believe start now with what you've got, maximize financial leverage, which is something I did not know when I started. But as time has gone on, we've obviously used that and it's helped massively.
Fantastic. And what's your kind of time frame when you're doing these projects? Is it like a turnaround of like 6 months, or is it a year?
I think that is dependent on the projects. For like the smaller projects, which is just a single home buy, yeah, we sort of work towards the 6 to 8 months purely because of lenders. Most of the time, we finished up the actual build within 2 to 3 months, depending on how simple it is. But we sort of give ourselves that time because we know some banks do not like you refinancing under the 6 months rule. So not we have done it under the 6 months, and some lenders will look at it, but to try and give us a wider range of lenders, we sort of keep it open to the 6 months. For the commercial to residential conversions, that's a much more longer timeline because we're looking at getting the planning permission. I mean, from purchase, which we try to ensure that we sort of do things in between exchange and completion. Have an arrangement with the seller or whatever, or vendor. However, it does take time to get them to get an architect, get them to get plans that's suitable to what you want, because there's a lot of back and forth with you and the architects. Then it takes about 8 weeks to get your planning permission if you get it first time around. So all of that takes time. So we typically looking at 12 to 18 months, depending on how big the site is. The one I was talking to you about, actually, the conversion to that took 12 months. And even that was during COVID, and we had about 3-4 months where the site was closed and we did not do anything. So you can see it would have been a lot shorter. It really varies. Depends on the site, depends on the issues that we come across.
And you said that sometimes you'll try to start the planning process in between the fact that you've had an offer accepted and then you're waiting to purchase. So what do you put in place to secure the property as your own, so that when they see that you're going through planning, that they don't pull out of the sale and then sell to somebody else for more money?
Yeah, so we always make sure we do this with the agreement from the vendors, and we put that into our contracts as well. So it's all done with the solicitors. We sort of try and make sure we cover ourselves, because the last thing we want to do is lose money. But I think where you need to sort of see this is if the vendors were going to do that themselves, they would have done it. They don't necessarily need you to sort of do it. So most of the time, I'm not saying it's never happened, but most of the time the vendor, as long as you need to understand where they're coming from, what's important to them, are they really just wanting more money? And so far we've done it for quite a few times, and it's never really it's really worked for us. We always make sure we complete prior to the planning permission coming out, so that just in case.
Complete first and then apply. Yeah.
The last one we did, that was the closest. I think we completed like 2 days before the planning permission was going to come out. So it's risky, I guess, but I think with some planning and structuring, yeah, you can have yourself covered.
And when you go for those particular sites, you must already be quite sure that you will get the planning, right? Otherwise you wouldn't have completed on them. Is that correct, or is that wrong?
Yes, to obviously to an extent, you will ensure that most for the most part you know that there's precedence there and that you think you can actually have this completed. But it's never sure. There's never 100%. I mean, I've got a site that I literally went to planning 3 times on the same site, and this is a site I already had outline planning permission. So he had outline planning permission for 18 apartments. So it was approved. It was almost there, but then we had to go 3 times before we actually got what we wanted. So it's never certain. But yes, you would. I think what we always do with my analysis, I always make sure that I have a fallback plan. And if all fails, what would I be able to do with the site? And if whatever it is still workable and fine by me, then I'll go ahead.
Yeah.
But it's never certain in planning.
Yeah.
Fortunately.
You said that Essex is your gold mine area. And why did you choose Essex? Or is that where you live?
Yep.
Yeah.
Spot on. Yeah. And it's quite funny. When I started on my journey, the first one I actually bought in Kent, which is close enough. And then the second one I went out to Leicestershire.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't too far. It was 2 hours. And then later after that, we just thought, okay, that we could get more bucks for our money. We went up north. And I think it was just I got a little carried away because I could get a lot more for my money. I think I went to one auction, bought 3 properties in the same day, and it got exciting. But I realized that it wasn't, I didn't do this just purely for the money. I wanted the time. And so having to get on the train, go to Leeds, go to Newcastle, I just thought, go to Bradford. I thought, this isn't why I did this. This isn't why I came out here. And I think I was at that point, I just told myself, no, I've got to be able to sort of balance this because I did have a good job that was paying me well. The reason why I did it was obviously to make more money, but also to have the flexibility. And if I can't get that and I'm having to sort of travel back and forth, one, financially, it wasn't making sense because I was spending all the money profits on getting on the train. But secondly, for me, I wasn't there for the kids. And that was exactly why I came. And I thought, no, after then, I think we traced our steps back and said, you know what, we give ourselves a particular mile radius from where we live to say we wouldn't go further than that. Obviously, now that I'm sort of a bit more comfortable knowing what I'm doing and the rest of that, I could possibly look at the big projects, but it would probably be with some outside of my area, but it would probably be with some level of handing over and outsourcing. I could possibly do that now, but at the time when everything was heavily down to me building this, I realized it wasn't going to work going too far. So yeah, Essex is where we are because we live in Essex.
That's cool. And then the ones up north, did you keep them or did you sell them in order to buy them?
I have them in my portfolio. I still have them in portfolio. It's there. That's what it just ticks us off. We've got those are the only ones that we sort of have estate agents managing for us, because otherwise we have a management within the business that manages our properties and not others as well. So, but those ones we sort of outsource and we leave it there. It pays for itself and maybe a little bit extra. Yeah.
Have you the ones that you bought up north, have you seen much capital growth in those areas or not really at all?
To be fair, I've not checked, but I don't think there's much in there, and that's probably why I've not checked. It's not that much. Probably not. I mean, the way our model is we buy properties, we buy on the way in, we buy cheap enough on the way in, refurbish it, and then try and we take out most of our equity and most of our initial deposit out. So for all of them, to an extent, we've taken out the initial outlay out to an extent to sort of keep rebuilding business. So it's not like I've got much in the property. So it's pretty much just sort of paying us. So to that extent, it's lived up to its value in terms of what it's got, but doesn't necessarily mean, I don't think there's much more to sort of say I want to refinance and get more money out. It's just literally fine where it is. Not that much capital growth in up north, unfortunately. But I think most people that invest up north are doing it for the cash flow as against capital growth.
Yeah, I would agree. You said that your husband was your business partner, is that right?
Yes, he is.
How does that create any kind of friction, the fact that you do business together, or are you quite good at keeping that separate?
I think I am quite lucky in the fact that we work well together, which is good. Um, Having said that, there is, I sometimes tell him that, we've got to consciously make our time to remember there is the life partner bit before the business partner bit, because it does mean sometimes you just find yourself talking about business all the time, and we consciously have to get ourselves out of it. Because I love property. I always say I live and breathe property, so I love the business, but um, having that two partnership infused in one does have its drawbacks, and we consciously, well, the girls, we've got two girls, and the girls do a good time of trying to get us to say, oh, no, there's something else outside of property. But yeah, I think that's the drawback, is the fact that we tend to talk about property a lot. Even on dinner tables, just say, oh, have you done this? Oh, I just saw this, and we start analyzing the deal, and we have to just remind ourselves, oh, no, this is dinner time. This is time for us. So we do have that. Obviously, we've got times that have been challenging, and maybe in the business it kind of carries its weight over to your, and then you have those frictions. But I think it's just a case of reminding yourself why you're doing it. We always have to sort of retrace our footsteps, and it does have to take its toll, to be quite honest.
Is he full-time in property as well, or does he still work?
Yeah, he has come on full-time now, and yeah.
That's amazing. I think when everyone gets into property, that's kind of the dream, that both partners can come out of their full-time jobs, but obviously it takes a lot of work, right? A lot of dedication.
It took him a longer time to come in. I was like, are you sure? It's one thing for us to replace your income with property, which is great, but if I take that jump, it means all of our lifestyle, which, to be fair, can be quite a lot, is all going to be based on property. Are we sure? And it's that level of uncertainty. But to be honest, you know what you're doing. You know this is much better. And I think because he's also my life partner, my flexibility then is almost invalid if I still have to rely on him going to job. Then really, it's not like I can go on. If I want to go on holiday with him, then I need him out of the job as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to. So yeah, it took a much longer time for him to do that, but yeah, eventually it took the leap.
Nice. You look like you're in a very glamorous place. Is this your living room?
Yes, it is.
It looks like a palace.
Oh, I'm just sitting on my sofa here.
Oh yeah, no, it looks really good on camera. It looks like a film set. It looks amazing.
Oh really?
Yeah, not like mine.
No, absolutely. I love this. Is that like a mural you've got on the wall?
Yeah, I painted that on the wall because this used to be my garage, and I converted it into a game.
Oh.
So you're sitting on my pool table right now.
Oh, that's lovely.
Are there any quirky things like that you have in your house? Because you're into property, I'm expecting that you did up your own property to be quite unique. Have you?
Yes, we built it.
Go on, tell us about it. Tell us.
Yeah. So yeah, we built our house, which is one of the fantastic things I think we've got from property. Because it's not even something that was on the cards. I mean, getting on the property ladder was obviously even the first steps, but to think of actually building my own house was one of my major, was a dream come true, a dream that you sort of sometimes have, but almost put at the back of your mind because you just think it's achievable. And I think after doing a property for a few years, we thought, why not? So yeah, we bought this plot of land in a choicey area, to be honest, where I wouldn't normally have been able to afford, let alone buy a house there, knock it down, and then build our house on there. And I am entirely grateful to my property journey to be able to allow us not only the financial means to it, but to even have the confidence and belief that we could actually even do it. Yeah. So that's been fantastic. And everyone, I think it's a lovely house, and definitely was financially rewarding as well. Obviously, being a property development, we had to not only build a house that we absolutely love and build it to our own taste, to our own, but then also be able to have it be financially rewarding as well. And I think one of the great things also being able to buy in an area that I probably not have been able to afford prior to now. So yeah, it's been great.
Excellent. You mentioned about wanting to make like the life for your children as well. So are they obviously they get annoyed you talking about property at the dinner table, but do you feel like they're taking it on board? Do you think property is something they'll get into, or do they hate it?
They absolutely. When you ask my girls, I've got an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old. I don't ask them what do you want to do. So I'm going to be a tennis player and a property developer. That's the only two things to say, and purely because of this. One of the things that we've also been able to get from property is the time and the finances we have to help them on their tennis journey. So they both play for the county.
Oh,
So
nice.
they're tennis players, and to be quite honest, again, it's the time. It's the being able to be there for them. I wouldn't have been able to do it if we're both working in the city. There's no way we're able to take them to the number of tennis lessons that they go to. So we are able to take them to tennis lessons. We're able to help them invest in them. And they say it. My second daughter has never seen me in the office for one day. Well, obviously we have our own office, so they come to the office with us as well. But prior to then, she didn't even get the concept that other parents work. I had to tell her, people work, you have to go to work. And because sometimes when she was younger, she thought I was always playing a computer game whenever I was on the laptop. I was playing. I'm like, oh, I wish. But I think it's just the other day they were playing with their cousins and they said, they were playing with Jenga and they said they were doing property trading and they said you have to give me bricks. And it's just those little things where they actually learn and understand that this is what you need to do to trade money. Sometimes you're saying, "Oh, I'm saving money because I want to be able to buy this property," and it's just they say it in form of a joke, but you know that they've got some rudiments in there to sort of ingrain them in them that they need to buy. I mean, they talk about when they're going to have their first properties even when they're 10 years. It's I think without actually being heavily concerned about it, it is being built in there. I mean, they take tape measures and they measure places. They build furniture and so they can do this because they've seen mommy and daddy do it as well. I think all of those things come together and hopefully build a solid future and a good mentality for them to know that they need to get their money working for them and not vice versa.
Fantastic. No, that's all amazing. I obviously I only just started talking to you recently, so half the stuff you told me today I didn't know, but I'm really excited for you, and actually it's made me feel excited for myself because I'm still at the beginning of my journey really. But I feel inspired by everything that you've said today, so thank you so much.
Thank you. And I think that's the thing about property. I don't even know what the next 10 years is going to look like. I know it's bright and it's going to be great, but I don't know what it is. And the same way I never knew when I started off. I think when I started off was just if we can do a few properties and just be able to make money and if we can make what I make in my job, that would be good enough. I absolutely had no idea what this would look like. And to be able to build the business from what it was how many years ago to what it is now, it's fantastic. And it just tells the beauty of being able to build on something as against just trading your time for money. If that's where you are, it's absolutely great. But understand, and I always say to people, even if you are not going to come into property full time, because we all can do that, but knowing that getting your money work for you, I always say to the kids is, you know what, I'm being paid whilst I sleep, and that's what property does because you are actually making money whilst you sleep. When your tenants are paying you money every month, it's not you trading your time. You have traded your time at some stage, but thus having that residual money coming in regularly is what the rich people do. And I think for me, one of the things why we got into property was that I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. I just analyzed what a few wealthy people did, and you realize they were all into real estate. There is a reason why they've done that, and I just followed suit. And whilst I wouldn't say I'm wealthy, I think we've done well for ourselves.
That's brilliant. If you had to give one message out to people who are thinking of getting into property, what would that one message be?
Believe in yourself and be resilient. Absolutely. That's what has helped us. We believed that we could do this and we got into it. And we have had lots of challenges, but I think we've made a resolve to be resilient and to follow through to get to the other side because it is definitely possible.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time. I very much appreciate it. I would like to talk to you for longer, but I have another meeting coming up. But I'm going to be messaging you probably in the week just to pick your brains for some ideas, if that's all right.
Always available to help. Yeah, definitely. I'd love to. And thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate it more. Cool. All right. Happy Mother's Day.
Oh, happy Mother's Day. Yeah. We should start from there. Yeah.
Yeah. Happy Mother's Day. This won't go out for like another 3 weeks, so it won't be Mother's Day then. But never mind. All right. Cool. All right. I'll speak to you soon.
Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.